Accused my best friend's husband of abscess, got labeled a psycho, and now everyone I know is taking sides. I tried to reach out to my friend, Rhea, desperate to have a one-on-one conversation about what I truly believed. Her husband, Simon, is possessive and abusive. I picked a Thursday lunch break. She would definitely be in the office, far away from him for once. But when I called, he answered her phone instead. Not just that, a cold, clipped voice told me to stop calling. I didn't back down. I told him I wouldn't stop until Rhea told me herself to stop. He flat out refused to let me speak to her. I couldn't keep quiet any longer. His behavior over the last 6 years had raised every red flag for me, and I told him so. I told him his treatment of Rhea disturbed not just me but all her friends and family, reminded him about the intervention we discussed. My warning was clear: if he didn't back off, I'd call 911. He exploded, called me a psycho, shouted that I'd never see Rhea again. Let me go back. Rhea and I met in college. We became close, and through me, she met her long-term boyfriend, Jay. She moved to NYC, started over, and he followed. They dated for 4 years. They had it all mapped out: the wedding, the future. But then Jay, at 27, had strippers at his bachelor party. Rhea, 24, found out and was furious. To make it up to her, Jay and our mutual friend Jennifer went all out for her hen party. Same deal, strippers. But Rhea always found that kind of thing sleazy, so she put her foot down. The strippers could stay, but they couldn't strip. Instead, they just hung out. We watched movies, painted, laughed together. It was genuinely fun. One of the strippers that night was Simon. He was barely 18 or 19. I still remember how obvious it was that he was obsessed with Rhea. At the time, we joked about it. He was young, good-looking, and so giddy around her. He'd lock his arms around her waist, beg for her to feed him cake, fling himself over her like some big kid, even when she tried to wriggle free. At the time it was funny, even adorable in a way. That was until, a few weeks later, wholly out of the blue, Rhea broke up with Jay. They'd been talking marriage for a year, but suddenly, it was just over with no explanation. Meanwhile, Simon was pursuing her in ways that made my skin crawl. He asked Jennifer for Rhea's contact info. She said no, but somehow, he found out where Rhea worked. For weeks, he'd sit outside her building, waiting for her, presenting her with little gifts every time she walked out the door. He tailed her everywhere she went. A month after her breakup with Jay, Rhea went on a date with Simon. Their relationship escalated at lightning speed. They married quickly, and a couple of years later, they had a baby girl. Simon became a stay-at-home dad. The real alarm started ringing during Rhea's second pregnancy. Simon's possessiveness wasn't even masked anymore. He barely let her leave the house alone. He'd constantly call and text her, insist that their phone locations be on at all times. Every password was shared between them. During COVID, they didn't attend a single event, not even if it was safe, socially distanced, nothing. I remember one Zoom call. Rhea wouldn't get up because Simon was asleep in her lap. Then he learned about our cultural tradition of cremation, and it completely unsettled me. He started planning to have their ashes mixed together so they would never be apart. At every party, he's right there, always touching her, clinging to her. He wouldn't even let her use the bathroom in peace. I tried to confront Rhea about it, but now my phone won't stop buzzing. Simon has already twisted the story and told Rhea's mom and all our mutual friends what I did. Everyone is splitting into sides, and all I wanted was to help her see what's right in front of us all. Update 1. I have a pregnant friend, R, 30F, and I've become increasingly convinced she's stuck in an unhealthy relationship. A few days ago, my concern got the better of me, and I confronted her partner, Simon, 25M, over the phone. He was furious and, without missing a beat, threatened to cut off all of R's contact with me. The harshness of his reaction, both in person and through things he's let slip, hit me hard. Later, reflecting on what I'd done, and especially after hearing some pointed criticism from people around me, I realized my impulsive actions might have put her in serious danger. Worse, even if I went to the police, unless I had rock-solid evidence, they probably wouldn't believe me. Several of our mutual friends started opening up to me about some of the things that had been going on. For instance, R had once insisted to me that she and Simon both had trackers on their phones and shared all passwords purely because it was her idea, supposedly for safety and transparency. But a friend quietly told me that it had been Simon's idea all along, and that he'd pushed to extend the surveillance to R's mother and certain friends, claiming he was worried about her being abducted. Now, there are half a dozen people who know R's location at all times, and R knows theirs. The realization hit me: R had lied to me, likely to protect Simon and maintain peace. Yesterday, I decided to drop by her office during lunch. I knew she'd be at work then, and that Simon wouldn't be. Since we work in the same building, it seemed like the best way to catch her alone so we could talk privately. I just wanted to reassure her that I'd always be there for her, no matter what. I had no intention of mentioning Simon's abusive behavior. I knew she'd just get defensive. But when I arrived, Simon was there, sitting in the office with their child. He stared me down, then told me in no uncertain terms to get out. His anger was sharp and barely contained. He said that if I ever tried anything like this again, he'd file a restraining order against me. He even threatened to go to my boss and accuse me of harassing a pregnant woman. I could feel him looking for ways to isolate her even further. I wasn't about to challenge him. He's been nothing but hostile toward me in the past, and I didn't want to do anything that might provoke him to hurt her. He demanded to know how many of our friends were planning something similar, raving about how he and I had dealt with non-stop harassment from her friends and family over the last 2 weeks. His outburst lasted for over 5 minutes, both accusing and intimidating me, while I just stood there, helpless and angry. Finally, I gave up and left without even seeing R. When I got home, a friend texted me with gut-wrenching news. R had removed most of us from all her social media. We'd all been close for years. I tried texting her, but my messages went unanswered. I'm convinced Simon blocked my number. In a last-ditch effort, I reached out via Facebook Messenger to R's mom, and even messaged her dad, but that only made things worse. Her mom read my message but ignored it. Now, I'm stuck. My friends and I are more worried than ever, and I have no idea what to do next. Update 2. Long story short, I was honestly worried about my friend R, 30F, and, out of concern, I went to her workplace during her lunch break, but just that one time, to check on her. I know now how out of bounds that was. I let my anxiety get the better of my judgment. Eventually, I realized that I was in the wrong, so I reached out and sent an apology to R. She accepted it, and I really thought that the whole incident was behind us. But then, on Monday, everything unraveled. R's workplace contacted my office, saying that there had been a formal complaint made on her behalf. The whole situation got even more complicated because R and I work in the same industry, and, to make matters worse, her company is a client of ours. That's when Simon, 25M, R's husband, stepped into the picture, claiming I had come over to her workplace and stressed her out so badly that she went into premature labor. Their baby had just been born a few weeks prior. I haven't even seen it. Simon submitted evidence showing I was there, plus medical paperwork about her premature labor. The fallout was instant. My company forced me to go on leave and launched a workplace investigation. Now I'm at risk of losing my job and potentially being blacklisted from the industry we both work in. An employment lawyer told me I don't have a case, at least, not yet. I thought that was where things would end, at their worst. But Simon didn't stop. He's always had a vindictive streak, and he started sending my family and family friends WhatsApp messages, screenshots, texts, videos, and who knows what else, laying out everything he could to expose my so-called bad behavior. R and I are from the same ethnic community, and it's extremely traditional. Things like drinking, casual relationships, wearing revealing clothes, or even just hanging out with boys are forbidden and seriously looked down upon. R and I were considered good girls, at least, before R shattered her image with our community by rejecting her fiancé and marrying Simon instead. I'll never forget when I was shunned the first time, with all sorts of nasty things flying around. Our friend group got involved, but most of the venom came from the older generation, parents, aunties, uncles. Now, Simon sent videos of me drinking, texts about my hookups, bikini photos from my Instagram, and more. Worst of all, he somehow had videos and pictures from R's bachelorette party, ones I didn't even know existed, showing the bridesmaids in the worst light imaginable. He spun the story so it sounded like we were deliberately making R uncomfortable the whole night. The final blow was Simon sending hard proof that we'd hired him and some others to be strippers at R's hen party. Our parents and the rest of our elders knew Simon used to be a stripper, but we'd kept the bachelorette party a secret. Now it all came out in the worst way. But he kept going, sending texts and videos of my husband's, 35M, drinking, drug use, strip club visits, and more shameful behavior to his entire family. Some of the other bridesmaids got the same treatment, and even R's former fiancée was targeted. Somehow, even with a newborn at home, Simon found the time to orchestrate all this. It was obvious he'd been planning it for a long time. Now, my family refuses to talk to me. My father said that his friendship with R's father is destroyed, all because of me. He saw screenshots of my WhatsApp messages where I tried to encourage R to loosen up, wear more revealing clothes, drink, or just have some innocent fun, basically, normal college-age stuff, but R was always the prudish one. He learned that all the bridesmaids helped hire strippers for R at her party. My dad screamed at me, saying he would have to beg R's dad for forgiveness. My mother told me I'd brought shame to the family and ruined their image with the people back home who now know everything. My husband hasn't been ostracized to quite the same degree, but his parents are furious and disappointed. The reality is, my life is in ruins right now, and I have no idea where to start picking up the pieces. Edit, I've decided to try to sue R for emotional distress. I honestly think I have a strong case. Update 3, I'm a woman in my late 20s and what I'm about to share is something that pulled my life out from under me. It all started because I cared deeply about my friend R, 30F. R and I have been friends for years, and I started noticing that her relationship with her husband Simon, 25M, felt emotionally abusive, isolating, controlling, manipulative. I grew more and more concerned for her, to the point that one day during lunch I went to her workplace, planning to check in and try to talk to her, privately about it. But that day took an ugly turn I couldn't have predicted. When I got there, Simon was already at her office. The moment he saw me, he erupted, yelling and making a scene until I had no choice but to just leave without even saying more than a word to R. When I got home, I felt sick about how it went down. I shot her a text, apologizing for showing up like that. She accepted, and I really thought that awful moment was behind us. That's what I told myself as I tried to move on. Then, Monday hit. Out of the blue, someone from R's company called my office, saying I'd been reported for a complaint on behalf of R. R and I actually work in the same industry, and her company is a client of ours. The whole thing spiraled out in ways I couldn't have possibly expected. Simon had filed a complaint, saying I caused her so much stress when I came to her office that she went into premature labor. He gave them everything, timestamps showing I'd been there, paperwork about the labor. He tried to tie it all back to me, even though I didn't even speak to her and the timing didn't line up at all. For what it's worth, R and her baby are both fine. Still, my boss asked me to go on leave while they investigate. At that point, it felt like the ground was opening underneath me, but it got so much worse. Simon has a vindictive streak, and he decided to destroy me in every way he could think of. He sent my family and family friends WhatsApp messages filled with screenshots, texts, videos, and God knows what else, exposing all of my supposed sins. My world is pretty small and tightly knit. R and I share the same ethnic background, the kind where the community is traditional, judgmental, and where reputation is currency. Drinking, casual relationships, dressing immodestly, hanging out with guys, it's all taboo, it all brings shame. The videos Simon sent, there I am, drinking, laughing, texts about old hookups, bikini photos snatched from my Instagram. And the worst? Somehow, he got his hands on videos and pictures from R's bachelorette party, stuff I didn't even know existed. Some of what he sent was real, some of it was manipulated. He didn't just come for me, he exposed all of us in the friend group, even my own husband, whose anger now simmers beneath every word he says to me. I can feel it, he blames me for this storm even though I never saw it coming. My family won't speak to me anymore. My father says his decades-old friendship with R's dad is in ruins because of me. He saw those WhatsApp screenshots, saw me urging R to loosen up, to have a drink, to hook up, things we all did in college, things that now look like poison through Simon's lens. The bachelorette fiasco sent my dad into a rage. He screamed that the only way forward would be for him to fall at R's father's feet and beg forgiveness. My mother says I've brought unbearable shame, that news of my sins reached everyone back home. Everyone in their circles is whispering about how she raised an Americanized daughter. Every conversation with my parents now is just them shouting at me over the phone, blaming, shaming, mourning the social standing. I've lost them. I've started ignoring their calls. I sit on my bed, staring at my phone, seeing nothing but missed calls and furious messages. My career, the one thing I loved, feels like it's slipping away. My relationship with my family, shredded. My reputation, destroyed. I don't know what to do next. Do I quit this job that once made me proud? Do I hire a lawyer and sue Simon for everything he's put me through? Do I beg R to rein him in, to try to fix this? Or do I grab the phone, call my parents, and confront them head on? Right now, all I feel is lost in the chaos Simon unleashed. I have no idea what to do. Update 4. I'm under HR investigation at my job, and since last Monday, they put me on leave. I've spent the last several days desperately trying to lock down another job, but it's proving harder than I imagined. The job I have now is prestigious, and to make matters worse, I was right in line for a promotion. If I get fired over this, I could be blacklisted from the entire industry, my whole career could implode. So, I feel a mounting pressure to secure something new before they take any official action. It's a ruthless game, and it all hinges on my reputation. The investigation itself is incredibly ambiguous. All that happened was that I went to a client company's office building, one packed with different businesses, a WeWork space, a cafe, a gym, and a sprawling lounge area, to meet up with a friend who works there. I used my card to access the building, but I want to stress, I never went into my friend's company office or did anything remotely sneaky. I simply waited in one of the common areas. Now the company wants to know if just being in that building, despite all the shared spaces and amenities, violated some obscure policy. It feels like my entire career is hanging by a thread over a technicality. In my field, networking is everything, especially for someone at my level. I reached out to the one person I thought I could absolutely count on, my friend, 33M. I asked him to put in a good word for me at his job, fully expecting him to help. To my disbelief, he refused. He's been distant for a while now but flat out said he wouldn't give me a referral. It's completely out of character for him, considering how close we've always been. His refusal feels like a betrayal after everything I've done for him. In college, I was his first real friend. He was shy, insecure, and new to living on his own. He'd always had his parents managing his life. I tutored him endlessly, especially in writing. Since he came to the U.S. as a teenager, he always struggled with that. I even helped him get his first real job after college. I referred him, prepped him for his interviews, and gave him all the support he needed. I didn't stop there. I helped his girlfriend get a job, too, and I was actually the one who introduced them in the first place. Even after she left him for another guy, I was there to help pick up the pieces. Throughout the years, I've gotten him thoughtful gifts, constantly hyped him up about his career, which really meant something, seeing as I'm further along in mine, and whenever I threw parties, he was always on the guest list. My husband and I even joked that if I hadn't married him, I probably would have married my friend instead. I know how hard it is to get a job in our field without referrals. Networking and word of mouth are everything. So now, after years of helping him personally and professionally, I ask for one favor, and he won't even consider it. I don't want to feel entitled, but I can't help but feel like he's the entitled one here. For years he leaned on my help and guidance, but now, when I urgently need him, he's nowhere to be found. Am I wrong for continuing to ask a friend for a referral, given everything? I feel betrayed. I remember when my girlfriend and I thought we had the perfect relationship. We met in college, she was 20, I was 23, and we were both business majors, both ambitious, both ready to take on the world. After graduation, we landed great jobs and moved in together. 4 years together brought ups and downs, but for the most part, it felt solid. Sure, we had our share of boundary talks. She'd get defensive whenever I offered gentle advice about her career, and honestly, I was close to a coworker that some friends and even my girlfriend thought was towing the line toward cheating. I disagreed, but the concern was there. She had these expectations about romance and gifts from her beloved novels, but nothing we couldn't work through, or so I thought. We were close to our families, both excelling at work, and eventually we decided to get married in a simple ceremony. That's when the arguments crept in, planning the wedding, her new promotion. Things that should have been celebratory became points of tension. When my bachelor party rolled around, my friends insisted on the classic night at a strip club. It's tradition, they said. She wasn't thrilled when she found out, but I told her that she could do the same for her bachelorette party. She told me she didn't want to pay for people to pretend to like her. Trying to be supportive and keep things fair, I asked our mutual friend Katie to arrange something for her. I naively assumed it'd be a simple night out, maybe even a trip to a strip club, but instead, Katie hired 3 or 4 male strippers and threw a party at my girlfriend's apartment. According to Katie, my girlfriend was angry at first, but by the end, she was having a blast. Apparently, Katie tried to keep things more like a house party than an awkward show, but I honestly don't know what to believe. To make things worse, my girlfriend really hit it off with one of the strippers, a kid, barely 18 or 19, and her friends all said they looked like they were having the time of their lives. Katie insists nothing inappropriate happened, but just 2 weeks later, my girlfriend gave me back the engagement ring. She said she was having doubts about marriage, that this boy made her feel respected and appreciated, and I tried to explain, he was literally paid to do that. I asked her, point blank, if she was leaving me for him, but she insisted she just needed to figure herself out. Katie later told me that the guy asked my girlfriend out immediately after she dumped me. A few months later, they were married. He's so much younger than her, and honestly, comes off possessive and immature. It tears me up inside, especially since we share so many friends. I see them together everywhere, on social media, through mutual circles, and it stings every time. Recently, I reached out, hoping to at least talk to her, but her new husband sent me a photo, her, pregnant, sitting in his lap. I was stunned. I just can't shake the feeling that he's manipulating her, that she can't see what's really happening. I even told her dad, and he completely agrees. We're planning to confront her this weekend and try to reason with her, but Katie warns that if we do, it might destroy what's left of our relationship. I don't know what else to do, I just want her to see the truth. Update 5. I thought things couldn't get worse. I was wrong. 2 weeks ago, I finally secured a new job, not in my original field, but something stable enough to keep me afloat while this nightmare plays out. The HR investigation at my old company is still ongoing, but at least I'm not completely financially screwed anymore. My new boss doesn't know about the situation, and I'm praying it stays that way, but Simon wasn't done with me. Not even close. Last Thursday, I got a call from my employment lawyer. Apparently, Simon has been busy. He's now claiming that I've been cyberstalking R through mutual friends and that I've been spreading defamatory statements about him in our community. The kicker? He's threatening to sue me for harassment and emotional distress. The same thing I was planning to do to him. I honestly laughed when my lawyer told me. The audacity of this man is unbelievable, but then my lawyer explained that Simon has been methodically documenting everything, every mutual friend who's reached out to R, every conversation anyone has had about their relationship, even comments on social media posts. He's building a case that paints me as an obsessed stalker who won't leave them alone. The truth? I haven't contacted her directly since my apology text months ago. But apparently, when our friend Jen asked her how she was doing after the baby, Simon twisted that into op-eds, using flying monkeys to harass my wife. When another friend, Mike, made a casual comment on R's Instagram photo about the baby being cute, Simon screenshotted it and added it to his evidence that I'm orchestrating some campaign against them. But here's where it gets really twisted. My lawyer dug deeper, and we discovered something that made my blood run cold. Simon has been catfishing people. He created fake social media profiles to friend our mutual acquaintances, gathering information and screenshots. One of the profiles was of a young woman who supposedly worked in our industry. Several people from our friend group had accepted her friend request and shared work updates, personal stories, even complained about their relationships. All of it was going straight to Simon. When we traced the IP address, it led back to his home. I felt sick. For months, this man has been playing puppet master, collecting ammunition against not just me, but everyone in our circle. The fake profile had been active for over a year, meaning he'd been planning this long before I ever confronted him. But the worst part came 2 days ago. Jen called me, sobbing. Apparently, Simon had sent her husband screenshots of private messages she'd sent to the fake profile, complaining about their marriage and mentioning that she'd been texting an old college boyfriend when she felt lonely. Her husband is now threatening divorce. Mike got hit too. Simon somehow got hold of messages Mike had sent to someone about struggling with addiction, something Mike had been hiding from his family. Simon forwarded everything to Mike's parents and his employer. It's like watching a horror movie where the killer picks off the friend group one by one. And we're all just now realizing how long he's been watching us. The scariest part? R has no idea. When Jen tried to warn her, R just said that Simon had told her people were trying to poison her mind against him and that she needed to trust her husband. She's completely isolated now, no social media presence, no contact with any of us. Simon answers her phone, responds to her emails, even picks up and drops off their older daughter at school. My lawyer says we might have grounds for a lawsuit against Simon for fraud and invasion of privacy, but it would be expensive and messy. Meanwhile, he's still threatening to sue me, and I'm starting to wonder if he actually has enough manufactured evidence to make it stick. I keep thinking about R, trapped in that house with a newborn and a man who's been systematically destroying anyone who cares about her. And I can't shake the feeling that this is all my fault. If I had never confronted him, would he have escalated this far? Or was this always his plan? I don't know what to do anymore. Part of me wants to gather everyone he's hurt and fight back together, but another part of me wonders if that's exactly what he wants, more evidence that we're all conspiring against him. I just want this to end. Update 6. I thought I'd hit rock bottom. I was wrong again. Yesterday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from my husband. Not unusual lately, he's been drinking more since Simon's campaign destroyed his reputation with his family. But when I called him back, his voice was different. Shaky. Scared. You need to come home. Now, when I got there, he was sitting at our kitchen table with a manila envelope and a laptop open in front of him. His hands were trembling as he slid the envelope toward me. This came in the mail today. No return address. Inside were printed screenshots of text messages. My text messages. But not the ones Simon had already leaked, these were different. Intimate conversations I'd had with David, my coworker from my old job, messages from months ago, when my marriage was at its worst point and David and I had gotten close. We never slept together. But the texts made it look like we had. Or were planning to. Did you know Simon's been watching us for over a year? My husband asked, his voice eerily calm. Because apparently, he has security cameras pointed at our house. He turned the laptop toward me. There, on the screen, were grainy surveillance videos, me coming home late from work, drinks that were actually dinners with David. Me hugging David goodbye in our driveway after he dropped me off one evening when my car was in the shop. Me crying in David's car outside our house after a particularly brutal fight with my husband. Without context, it looked damning. There's more, my husband said, clicking to another folder. He sent these to my parents. To my boss. To David's wife. My stomach dropped. David's wife, Sarah, had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years. They'd finally succeeded 2 months ago. I grabbed my phone and called David immediately. It went straight to voicemail. When I tried his work number, his assistant said he was unavailable indefinitely. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You should have minded your own business. This is what happens when you try to destroy families. But here's where everything took a turn I never saw coming. 3 hours later, David showed up at my door. His eyes were red, his hair disheveled, and he was clutching his phone like a lifeline. Sarah left, he said without preamble. She's staying with her sister. But that's not why I'm here. He held up his phone. Simon called me an hour ago. He wanted to meet. I felt the blood drain from my face. Please tell me you didn't. I did. At that coffee shop on 5th Street, David ran a hand through his hair. He offered me a deal. The deal was simple. David would provide Simon with any information he had about me, my habits, my other friendships, my marriage, anything that could be used to further destroy my life. In exchange, Simon would make sure Sarah saw evidence that proved David and I never actually had an affair. He showed me the doctored messages he's been preparing to send her, David continued. Screenshots that make it look like you were obsessed with me, pursuing me, and that I kept rejecting you. He's been planning this for months. And? David's laugh was bitter. I told him to go fuck himself. But then. He paused, looking at me strangely. He said something weird. He said or doesn't know about any of this. That she thinks everyone just naturally drifted away from her. He said she's been crying every night, wondering why all her friends abandoned her after the baby. My heart clenched. She doesn't know? That's what he claims. But then he said something else. David leaned forward. He said R's been asking to see you specifically. That she wants to apologize for the workplace complaint. Apparently, she never knew he filed it in her name. I stared at him. That's impossible. She accepted my apology months ago. That's what I thought too. But then he showed me something. David pulled out a folded piece of paper. A handwritten letter. From R to you. He said she's been writing to you for weeks, begging him to deliver them. My hands shook as I unfolded the paper. It was definitely R's handwriting. I'd recognize it anywhere. I don't understand why you won't talk to me anymore. Simon says you're angry about the baby coming early, but I keep telling him that wasn't your fault. I miss you so much. I don't know what I did wrong, but please, can we just talk? I feel so alone. The letter was dated from last week. He's been intercepting everything, I whispered. David nodded grimly. And here's the kicker, he wants to meet with you tomorrow. Says R's been threatening to leave him if she doesn't get to see her friends soon. He's getting desperate. I looked up at David. This is insane. Why are you telling me this? Because I think he's finally overplayed his hand, David said. And because Sarah's pregnant, and if there's even a chance Simon's telling the truth about those doctored messages, I need to try to save my marriage. He paused, studying my face. But mostly because I think R's in real danger. And I think you might be the only person who can help her. I'm supposed to meet Simon today at 2 p.m. David's going to follow at a distance and record everything on his phone. I know this is probably a trap. I know I should just call the police and wash my hands of this whole nightmare. But what if R really doesn't know what he's been doing? What if she's been sitting there, pregnant and isolated, thinking her friends abandoned her for no reason? I can't live with myself if I don't try. I just hope I'm not walking into something I can't get out of.